Well, I mean, you've identified the problem. The problem is you don't make enough money. And
Right.
the way you solve the problem, no kidding, Dave, is you make more money.
Dave Ramsey's best 15 tips for thriving on very low income in 2024. Did you know that in 2024, nearly 40% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck with little to no savings for emergencies? It is more difficult than ever to make ends meet on a low income in this age of rapidly increasing living costs and wages that remain flat. But it's not all doom and gloom. Financial guru Dave Ramsey offers a light of hope with his practical and effective tips for thriving on a very low income. Today, we dive into Dave Ramsey's top 15 strategies for 2024, designed to help you stretch every dollar, cut down debts, and save smartly, even when finances are tight. So, let's get right into it.
The first one is get on a budget. A written plan. You have to do a budget on paper, on purpose, before the month begins.
All right, let's dive into our first tip from Dave Ramsey, budgeting. Now, you might think, budgeting? That sounds like a chore. But according to Dave Ramsey, a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And in 2024, when every penny counts, this couldn't be more true.
Every dollar has a mission. Every dollar has a name. Not sort of kind of in my head. Not it's on my iPhone app.
Prices are climbing, but our paychecks? Not so much. So, having a budget is like having a roadmap for your money. It's not about restricting yourself, it's about taking control. Did you know that people who stick to a budget are 33% less likely to end up in debt? That's huge. Ramsey says to start with a zero-based budget. This means every dollar you earn has a job. Whether it's paying rent, buying groceries, or saving for that rainy day, you are in charge of where your money goes. And this approach can really open your eyes to where you might be overspending. The second tip from Dave Ramsey is to cut costs that are not necessary. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do I really have to give up my morning latte? Well, it's not just about cutting out small pleasures, it's about being smart with your spending. In today's world, where it's so easy to swipe a card and forget about it, those little expenses can add up fast. Ramsey often says, you must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. And he's right. It's all about fighting that balance between what you need and what you want. Let's break it down. Start by looking at your monthly expenses. Are there subscriptions that you're not using? Maybe a gym membership that's gathering dust, or streaming services you barely even watch. These are prime targets for trimming down your expenses. Do not forget that cutting costs that are not necessary does not mean living a miserable life. It means consciously choosing what you need to meet your basic needs without going overboard. So, what are some expenses you think you could cut back on? Let's share some ideas and strategies in the comment section below. Let us look at Dave Ramsey's third tip for managing a low income in 2024, which is to save money for emergencies. Ramsey often emphasizes, an emergency fund turns a crisis into an inconvenience. And he's spot on. In a time when financial uncertainties are more common than ever, having an emergency fund is like having a financial safety net. So, what is an emergency fund? It's money you set aside for those unexpected expenses, like your car breaking down, a sudden medical bill, or even a job loss. These things can happen to anyone, and without a safety net, they can throw your finances into chaos. The goal? Start small. Ramsey recommends starting with $1,000 set aside for emergencies. It might not cover everything, but it's a start. So, how do you build this fund? It's about setting aside a little bit from each paycheck. Even $20 or $50 adds up over time. You might think it's impossible on a tight budget, but it's about prioritizing. Maybe it means cutting back on eating out or holding off on that new phone. Remember, it's not forever, just until you've got that emergency fund in place. Once you've got your emergency fund, it can give you peace of mind. So, what are your thoughts on building an emergency fund? How would you start saving for it? Ramsey often points out, you can't get out of debt while keeping in the same lifestyle that got you there. And a big part of that lifestyle change is how you handle your grocery shopping. Groceries are a necessity. The trick is to shop smart. First off, plan your meals. Know what you're going to eat throughout the week. This helps you avoid buying things that you don't need and reduces food waste. Next, use the power of coupons and deals. Check out store flyers, use coupon apps, or join store loyalty programs. Even small discounts can add up to big savings over time. Another key strategy? Buy generic. Those store brand items, they're often just as good as the name brands at a fraction of the cost. And don't forget about buying in bulk. Items like rice, beans, and pasta can be cheaper in large quantities, and they last longer. Also, consider where you shop. Discount grocery stores can be a goldmine for savings without compromising on quality. And remember, the most expensive items are usually at eye level, so look high and low on those shelves for better deals. Lastly, be mindful of impulse buys. Stick to your list. Those checkout aisle temptations might seem small, but they can quietly eat into your budget. Ramsey often says, if you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else.
If you will live like no one else later, you can live and give like no one else.
This means making some tough but necessary choices to live within or even below your means. Downsizing your lifestyle isn't about depriving yourself. It's about focusing on what's essential and cutting back on the excess. Start by evaluating your biggest expenses. For many, this could be rent or mortgage payments. Could you move to a more affordable area? Or maybe move into a smaller house or apartment? These changes can significantly reduce your monthly expenses. Next, look at your transportation. Do you own a car that's expensive to maintain or has hefty monthly payments? Consider switching to a more economical vehicle or using public transportation. Not only can this save money on payments, but also on gas, insurance, and maintenance. Also, think about your daily habits and discretionary spending. Do you have a gym membership you rarely use? Or do you often buy expensive clothes? Finding more cost-effective alternatives or cutting them out altogether can free up a substantial amount of money. Now we will talk about Dave Ramsey's 6th tip for surviving on a very low income in 2024. Make more money. It's a straightforward concept, but often easier said than done. Ramsey reminds us, your most powerful wealth building tool is your income. So let's explore how you can boost that tool, even in small ways. Firstly, consider part-time jobs or side hustles. In today's gig economy, there are numerous opportunities to earn extra cash. From driving for a ride-sharing service to freelancing online, the options are diverse. Even a few extra hours a week can make a significant difference in your budget. Also, think about turning a hobby or skill into an income source. Are you good at crafting, baking, or graphic design? These skills can be monetized through platforms like Etsy, Upwork, or Fiverr.
You got to get out of debt and stay out of debt.
Often points out, debt is dumb, cash is king. It is important to deal with your debt because it is not just the money you owe. Interest keeps adding up. The first step in this process is to list out all of your debts, from smallest to largest. This is part of Ramsey's famous debt snowball method. The idea is to focus on paying off the smallest debt first while making minimum payments on the others. Once the smallest debt is paid off, you move on to the next smallest, and so on. This method creates a sense of accomplishment and momentum, making the debt repayment journey feel a lot more manageable. Another key aspect is to avoid taking on new debt. This means living within your means and using cash instead of credit for purchases. The 8th one is about using community resources. Ramsey acknowledges, you can't do this alone, highlighting the importance of seeking help when needed. In tough financial times, community resources can be a lifeline. Firstly, explore local food banks and pantries. These organizations are there to help those in need, providing essential food items that can significantly reduce your grocery bill. There's no shame in seeking help. These resources are part of the community support system. Next, look into utility assistance programs. Many communities offer support for those struggling to pay their utility bills, especially in extreme weather conditions. These programs can help keep your lights on and your home heated or cooled, depending on the season. Also, consider other local resources like free or low-cost medical clinics, clothing banks, and financial counseling services. Ramsey often says, act your wage. If you're on a tight budget, one of the best ways to save money is by doing things yourself and cooking at home. Instead of hiring someone for every small repair or home improvement project, try doing it yourself. There are countless tutorials online for everything from fixing a leaky faucet to painting a room. Not only does this save money, but it also gives you a sense of accomplishment. So, what are your favorite DIY projects? Do you have any tips for others trying to save money in these areas? Share your experiences in the comments down below. So, let's talk about how negotiating your bills can make a real difference in your budget. Think about all the bills you pay monthly: utilities, internet, cell phone, and maybe even credit card payments. These are not just fixed numbers. There's often room for negotiation. For example, you can sometimes save a lot of money on the internet bill by calling your provider and asking them if they have any deals or discounts going on right now. It's all about taking the initiative to ask. Then there are your utility bills. Many people don't realize that they can actually talk to their utility companies about better payment plans or even discounts, especially if they've been loyal customers. The same goes for cell phone plans. Companies often have deals or better plans that they don't advertise openly. Consider the costs associated with owning a car. On average, the annual cost of owning and operating a vehicle can be over $8,000, considering payments, insurance, maintenance, and fuel. In contrast, the average cost of an annual public transportation pass in major cities can be around $1,000 to $1,200, which is significantly lower. Moreover, public transportation can be a more environmentally friendly choice. The American Public Transportation Association reports that public transit can reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 37 million metric tons annually. The American Public Transportation Association reports that public transit can reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 37 million metric tons annually. By choosing public transit, you're not only saving money, but also contributing to a greener environment. Of course, the feasibility of using public transportation varies depending on where you live. In urban areas with well-developed transit systems, it can be both a convenient and cost-effective option. Even if you can't use it for all of your transportation needs, using it whenever possible can still lead to substantial savings. With Americans spending around $2,900 annually on entertainment, free options are vital for budgeting. Utilize public parks, community events, libraries, and the internet for free activities and content. Simple pleasures like picnics, hikes, or game nights can be equally enjoyable and cost-effective. Share your favorite free entertainment ideas below. These small fees add up and put a strain on the budget. Ensure timely bill payments by setting up automatic transactions for recurring expenses like rent and utilities. Using budgeting tools or calendars helps track due dates. Proactively aligning due dates with your income schedule can also prevent late payments. Ramsey often says, investing in yourself is the best investment you can make. Statistics show that individuals with higher levels of education tend to earn more. For example, the average weekly earnings for someone with a bachelor's degree are about 67% higher than those with just a high school diploma. Consider this eye-opening statistic. By embracing frugality and minimalism, you can save a substantial portion of your income. On average, individuals who adopt these principles save up 30% more of their earnings compared to those who don't. By prioritizing essential needs and minimizing excessive spending, you'll free up resources to pay off debts, build an emergency fund, and invest wisely. Decluttering your life, both physically and financially, not only reduces stress, but also paves the way for a more financially secure future. Start today and watch your financial well-being flourish. Living on a very low income in 2024 is undoubtedly tough, but with Dave Ramsey's 15 best tips, it's not only possible to survive, but also thrive.
So we started applying these principles to our lives.
These strategies are about making every dollar count and building a foundation for financial stability and eventual wealth. What tip resonated with you the most? How do you plan to implement these strategies in your life? Share your thoughts and let's inspire each other towards financial empowerment, even in the toughest of times.